Hello and welcome to this week's edition of The Mal and Johnny Show. And Johnny, we've got a special guest with us today.
Yeah, we got a special guest, a great friend of ours and a great performer, Mr. Mike Doyle. Let's welcome him in.
So Mike, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. How exciting. I've been looking forward to it all day.
Now then, we talked about Johnny being on Opportunity Knocks, and it's a life changer, and it was definitely like that for you, wasn't it?
Well, it was, but how it came about for me, I auditioned in Cardiff at the top rank. And I went in, and a guy called Stuart Morris was the producer who actually made Shirley Bassey. He was the one who first gave Shirley her first go. And so I go into the audition room with a guy called Stuart Morris, and Bob Monkhouse is there, and this producer just went, all I want you to do, mate, just give us 3 minutes, no more. I thought, 3 minutes? I didn't come from that era where you had like a 8-minute act, then you just did that act around the country, you know. I came from the era where we want a full hour, out to you, a full hour. None of this 55 minutes. We want a full hour. And the band saying, do you want me to play it as is? And things like that. So I come from that era. Yeah. So I thought, how am I going to do 3 minutes? What have I got to show this man who Mike Doyle is in 3 minutes? So I couldn't. So I just waffled on, and he said, thanks very much, but no thank you. And I walked out into the sunlight. I'll never forget it. And the door slammed behind me, and it was Bob Monkhouse chasing me out into the street in Cardiff. Which, and he said, look, I think you've got something here. I'm going to talk to Stuart. I'll write you some material. And he got me a job as the warm-up man at BBC Wood Lane in London, where it was being filmed. So then Bob said to me, no, look, whatever you do, Mike, don't move off X marks the spot. He said, because we're going to just do a few test shots on you for me. I said, oh, okay. Oh, all right. I'm there to do the test shot. Johnny, you know all about this. So, and you do, Mal. So, I was told not to move. Bob gave me loads of material.
So they actually filmed you doing your warm-up?
You got it, Johnny. But what Bob had done, he's pulled a few favours. He's got them to film me. He's edited it down to 3 minutes, showed it to Stuart Morris. I was on the show the next week, and then I won the blooming series. Whoa!
Oh, isn't that amazing? What a talent spotter.
Fantastic.
I mentioned him first back in 1986 in Cardiff, so I assumed he was Cardiff-born, but he replied...
Carmarthen in West Wales, yeah, the gateway to the west.
I guess it was because I saw you auditioning in Cardiff that But that was 2 years ago for the first series of Bob Knox.
Well, I failed, see? But I come back again. I thought, get my act together and let's have another go, you know?
Yeah, show business success needs that special combination of talent and determination. This young comedian from Carmarthen has plenty of both. Opportunity Knocks for act number 2, Mike Doyle.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Good evening. If you're wondering whether to vote for me, you know, my language is English, my accent is Welsh, my name is Irish, but I prefer Scotch. That covers everything, really. Listen, I'm staying in a marvellous...
Was it just patter you were doing? Were you singing as well, or just gags? What were you doing?
A difficult thing to put over, that you are a comedy vocal act, as it were. So Bob just said, look, we got to hear him sing. So I started off coming on with a comedy. So bang, 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 bang. And at the end, well, Bob just said, just say this. Well, I come from Wales. There's no way can I not sing a song for you tonight, and blah, blah, blah. And we worked the words of the song in with the comedy.
On the way into the BBC tonight, somebody thought I was somebody famous. This beautiful, gorgeous woman came up to me. She said, "You're Mario Lanza, aren't you?" I said, "Don't be silly. I'm Mike Doyle from South Wales." She said, "You're Mario Lanza." "I'm not. I'm Mike Doyle from South Wales." She said, "If you were Mario Lanza, I'd do anything for you." So I said, "Be my love, and with your kisses set me burning. we'll find love's promised land. There'll be no one but you for me eternally. If you will be my
Mike Doyle, Carmarthen-born, a Welshman, a natural-born comedian. Comics like
I know these are like ridiculously old songs, but Bob Monkhouse said, look, to stand out on this show, you could be cool now and sing something, you know, hey, Laurie, and it's just going to be a pop song. But if you come on and you like, give it the best, that will be, people at home voting will remember that more than you trying to be singing a song by Steely Dan or whatever, you know. Yeah. So he did help me a lot, and he helped me after that as well, because I was booked. Funny enough, I've just been writing this. I'm writing a book at the moment, and I've just written the story. I was then taken over by a manager called Malcolm Feld, and I'd never had like a London-based manager before, and it was a whole new world, you know, in the big boys league. And
was Malcolm Feld in London management?
I think if he wasn't with them in the early days, he certainly knew Billy Marsh and Laurie Mansfield and all these people, Peter Pritchard. He was up there.
Yeah.
Is that the dog? That's Buddy the dog.
He hates the postman with an absolute vengeance. So anyway, then I get this management, and then I started to do support work, you know, like. So I toured with the Stylistics, the Shadows, the Supremes, Mary Wilson. Oh. What a shock!
Yeah, she just gone, didn't she?
You know what? I remember we did Torquay, you know, the big conference centre there, the Supremes, and as I say, I was a support artist, and the Supremes were all very upset, like, you know, and Mary Wilson was trying to pull them all together. They'd had their tour bus broken into, and all their beautiful Supreme gowns all stolen. So they went on stage in their jeans and t-shirts, jumpers, and you know, which is ironic because that's how they dress on the stage now anyway.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I got to tell you, I saw Billy Crystal once. I got to tell you this. You just reminded me. He's looking at the television. He said, there's a bloke here doing comedy. He's dressed for a felony. Because that's how people dress now, don't they?
Yeah. So, through Opportunity Knocks, Bruce Forsyth's Generation Game, Something for the Weekend. I did a comedy drama thing for 6 weeks, and the numerous things, the knock-ons, the Michael Barrymore, Big Night Out, Pebble Millet. There was loads of telly around in those days for the likes of us, you know?
Mm-hmm. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Doyle.
Very much indeed, ladies and gentlemen. No, I can't tell you what a thrill it is to be here tonight. I'm so glad my mother sent that letter to Annika Rice.
I'd like to go back now, because Opportunity Knocks was a highlight, you know, a partway through your career. But you started off in Carmarthen, and Johnny and I in the past have talked about, you know, early days in the clubs and all of that sort of thing. What was your first act? Was it in a rock and roll band, or was the comedy there straight away?
No, it certainly wasn't. And my first band was... I had a mate called Spud. He's no longer with us, bless him. And he was a great lead guitar player. You know, he could play the intro to Johnny Be Good properly. You know, and Andy Wah on drums. And we used to practice in Andy Wah's mother's house.
Right.
In this small little dining room in a terraced house. And I can remember the songs of yesterday, our set list, and we were only like 15, 16 now. We used to do The Arms of Mary, living in the arms of Mary. Mama's got a squeeze box she wears on her chest. We used to do that one. It was all kind of poppy, rock and rolly type stuff, you know, which as you know, Mal, we've had these conversations. I am a rock and roller at heart. I've never really been musical theatre and all that kind of stuff. I am a bit of a rock and roller at heart.
Here we go, here we go, and here we go. Well, we know that we're gonna do, here we go. Whoa, rocking all over the world. Giddy up, giddy up, giddy up, we're going crazy and we're leaving today. Here we go. Whoa, rocking all over the world.
And that band was called, stupid name, was called Tattoo. So anyway, the drummer, he said, well, you're practicing my mommy's house, so, I get the name of the band, right? Otherwise you're not going to come here anymore. So, okay. So that band then became Speed Limit.
Yeah, oh great, what a great name, Speed Limits.
And Speed Limit had a level of success locally.
Yeah.
We auditioned for Decca Records, and they said that the best thing that could happen to you boys was to play universities at 1 o'clock in the morning when everyone's drunk. And we said, oh, thank you very much for your time. Thank you. And then,
there's always this thing. There's a friend of mine who is in a group, but he always said, the thing about our band is we are the best band in our price range in the area. So
yeah. Well, there's a lot to be said for that, and but we didn't make any money out of the band days. I think it's all because we kept reinvesting, getting better PA. It was our dream to have Marshall stacks and stuff like that. But we then went on to support a little band. We were 18 at the time then. We went on to support Shaking Stevens and the Sunsets, as they were then called. Sailor.
Wow.
Who else did we support? Leo Sayer. Because all these names came to Carmarthen and to Llanelli, to the what was it called? The Glen Ballroom, thank you. And they took down Swansea, of course, top rank, and we were the go-to band that would do it for free in Carmarthen. But it was a great experience. And then after that, bands split up and everything. Then we became a little cabaret band, as it were. And we all had curly perms, huge dicky bows, frilly shirts, blue velvet jacket, black trousers, shiny white shoes. Weird. And and we were called Casual Affair. And
I've had a few of them.
what was that?
I've had a few casual affairs.
Yeah, that was the name of the band. They're still going today.
Really?
They're still around today. But we went up the northeast, stayed at Roker View Guest House. I'm having breakfast with a rocking.
Oh yeah.
And of course, the band's finished, and I started having a little go on my own, and that's when Alan Phillips, he came into my life, man. Alan Phillips, the agent, Llanelli, brilliant, Andy.
Alan had a great telephone persona.
Give us
Hello, it's Alan here. Yeah, got to give you Thursday, right? Don't I? That's right. All right. See, was it? Okay. And that would be it. I know it was him, but he wouldn't come to, hello, boys, it's me. It would be, hello, it's me, it is. But when you met him in person, he was lovely, but on the phone, he was bloody awful. He used
to ring me, and I go, ring, ring. I go, hello. He go, oh, it's me, it is. But anyway, he was instrumental in, getting me loads of work, absolutely shedfuls of work back in the day, and I learned an awful lot, and Johnny, I remember looking up to you in those days and just thinking, consummate professional, and I thought, how will I ever even get to, where his ankles are, I wasn't even as good as your feet, because you could tap and you could,
to my tap shoes.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like, and I wanted to say that to you on this podcast, that when I was starting off and everything, and I'd look up at you and just think, and loads of people would say to me, well, Johnny Tudor, and when we used to get to Cardiff. Well, I got to Cardiff then, the big city, so nervous, that will they understand me and all that? And then there was a brilliant Welsh comedian, and Johnny, you will know him because you probably worked with him on Noson Lawen or Disco Downs or something, I don't know. But he just said to me, "Can you see, what you got to be careful of is, does the comedy travel past Lough Bridge?" Oh my gosh!
But you've been able to travel because your act is more universal. That's
well, it became that, and now I'm 60, and I just, it's pennies dropped a little bit, and it doesn't really matter where you come from as long as you set it all up. We're great, us Welsh people. I think we're all great storytellers, and these stories they're all stacked up in my head. I could go on for hours, but if I may, there was going back to the Lough Bridge situation. This comedian, I wish I could remember his name. He gave me such a great gag. And I tell this joke all over the world. He said, "Don't ever tell this joke," he said, "over the Lough Bridge. No one will understand you. Once you pass Lough Bridge, it'll be lost and you'll die." And the joke was that a man was shipwrecked. He's on a desert island, and all the food was coming up in barrels and sealed, and it kept him going for 25 years. And he by trade, he was a carpenter, and he built himself a house, and he built himself a social club so he could go down there on a Saturday night, and have a bit of coconut juice. And then on the hill to the left, he built a chapel. See? And then out on the other hill, he built another chapel. And when he got saved, this chap went, "Well," he said, "this is amazing," he said. She said, "Oh, yes," he said, "I've built all this myself, see? I go down to club every Saturday night, have a coconut, have a chat to the boys, like, in my mind, I suppose. And then on Sunday, I have a chapel on the side. I always go to chapel and said, "Oh, why have you built another chapel over there then?" He said, "Oh, that's the one I don't go up to." Johnny, listen to this. I told that joke on the Queen Mary 2 on a transatlantic voyage, where my audience at one particular voyage was 90% New York Jewish audience. And they absolutely were crying laughing. But I was on the Queen Mary 2 about 4 years ago. It's quite a new, relatively young story. And this woman comes up to me in a wheelchair. And she says to me, "You don't remember me, do you?" I said, "No, I don't think I do." "Oh, my husband was good to you." I said, "Well," I "I can't think, yes, my husband, Glyn." I'm going, "Well, yes." Well, and she said, "He was the concert sec of the Merthyr Labour Club." So this is on the Queen Mary, right? And I said, "Oh, Glyn." I said, "Of course, Glyn MacDonald." I said, "He was good to me." I said, "And I was never big-headed with him around, I can tell you." So then the next thing happens is this. Oh, this will knock you over with a feather, this. She said, "Well, the only reason why I'm on here," she said, "is my boy is doing the fashion look in there." I went, it was Fashion Week, and they had the top fashion people from all over the world, Paris, Milan, New York, mainly New York, London, and Julianne MacDonald was one of the big names showing off his designs, and they had 6'4" models at a catwalk in the Queen's room. And I went, "Your boy, Julianne is your son?" I said, "I remember him asking his father for a tenner because he wanted to go and get a Chinese on the way home from the club." So I now get to meet Julianne MacDonald, who's very grand now with all the, Yeah. And I tell him this story, and his mother goes, "Hey, he's absolutely right, because I remember as well. You always asking your father for money, you were." And And it's Julianne MacDonald. I've got these people around going, "Hello, Julianne, your upbringing must have been such a hoot."
You know those clubs, Mike? Johnny and I talked about them and some of those characters, like Glenn, Latina with Labour Club. You know, they were characters, but there was sort of like an internal logic to some of the things they'd say to you, but they didn't make any sense. Like taking a pile of gear to a gig, and maybe a pile of lights to a gig. Now, I think I've heard you tell this story before, but tell us about going to the gig and then unloading the gear and what the club sec says to you.
So we go to a club up in the valleys, and we're bringing all the gear in from the transit van. And on the dance floor in front of the stage, there are drum kit stuff, stands, cables, boxes, speaker cabinets, amplifier, little mixing desk, microphone stands, guitar cases, and it's all over the dance floor. And the committee member comes in and he says, "Now then, how is all this crap gonna get up there on that little stage?" And as he said that, the bass player comes in with a bar across his shoulders with lights hanging from it. He said, "What the hell is that then?" "Oh, these are our lights for the show tonight." "You brought your own lights?" Yeah. This is our own lighting. It's for the show tonight." "Oh, here we are. I suppose we'll save on the electric."
Oh my God! Some of the clubs.
I've got a great story of. Funny enough, it is Merthyr Tydfil Labour Club, and this is like this is not on the top of my best stories that over the years, but this is in the top 10. So the last time that I ever went there, because let's be honest, let's not romanticize too much. It was a hard club, and when you went well, it was wonderful. And most of the time, they were tough to win over. So I go along to the club, and Glyn is there, Glyn MacDonald, and he says to me, "Go out into the concert room. I'm going to show you something. Watch this now." So I'm standing in the middle of the Merthyr Labour Club concert room, and I hear him from behind the curtains at the back there. I said, "Yes. Watch this now. Nobody in South Wales will have this." I said, "Okay." He pressed a button, and these curtains, they fitted electric curtains. These electric curtains went... and they overlapped each other like that, right?
Right.
He comes onto the stage now, and like Tommy Cooper trying to find his way through the centrefold, right? And he goes, "What do you think of that then?" I said, "It's fantastic, it is." "Watch this," he said. They open as well. So anyway, they open and close, right? So the night comes. He can't wait now. He's got his finger on his button. Any opportunity, he just couldn't get enough of the button, right? The duo goes on, and for some reason, this duo, I think one of the fathers owned a music store. So the drummer would do this. So for argument's sake, I was singing Feelings in those days. Feeling. Nothing more than feeling. I forget my Chinese symbol, right? I'm thinking, what's going on, man? Right? And the keyboard player, Rick Wakeman, hasn't got as much keyboards as this bloke. He's got one hand up here, one hand down there, yes. Right?
Yeah.
So on goes the girl singer before me. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the club. First time in the club, order around the room, please. This time, order. This time, please. Please welcome to the club. Never been here before. The agent said she's good. And we're about to find out, ladies and gentlemen, please. Please welcome whatever her name was, right? She walks on in high heels, clips over to a plastic button on the floor, clicks it, and goes, first I wasn't afraid. I was petrified. Thinking I could never live without sight. Thinking how you did me wrong, and now you're back in the back. How to get along? The organ and drums, well, the keyboards and drums took off about 1,000 miles an hour. But now you're back, down outer space, stops. But with the echo, but now you're back. Then, in the middle of this absolute awful situation, Glenn has gone, not having this. Click.
Shuts the curtain on her.
Here he comes, Johnny boy. He finds the middle of the curtains, and because it's a full room, he's got a bit of nerves on him. He comes to the curtains, falls off the stage, gets back up, grabs the microphone and says, well, she won't be back. The duo plays him off with there's no business like show business like no. Well, what they actually did was go, there's no business like show business like no business.
Oh, well, I mean, tough clubs. Johnny, there's a club near Merthyr that you always say was one of the toughest out there. Which one was it?
Goodness.
Oh, goodness. I told him last week, Mike, about Johnny Stewart. He went on in Gurness, and his first line was, I've been sent here. I didn't come of my own free will, and you don't frighten me. That was his opening line. Oh, God.
But, you know, you go to somewhere like that and the other clubs, it certainly toughens you up, doesn't it? It's, you know, so if if you're on the QE2 or the Queen Mary or whatever it is, at least you're prepared for an audience that could be tough.
I think what it does, all that training of years ago and whatever, because I couldn't deliver, you know, exactly how I did it then, really, I suppose. But I think, Johnny, you might agree, working the clubs of yesteryear, it taught us to learn how to have thinking time. So it's not going well, but rather than go, oh, what am I going to do? You self-edit, and you maybe can think 5-10 minutes ahead and go, I'm going to go into this, or I'm going to do that. You know?
Mm-hmm. I tell you what, Miguel, I know when you got a really hard club, and you beat them in the end. In some way, it's more satisfying than go to an easy club where you've got to meet another hand. You fight them and you get through to them, and it's such a great feeling. You got them in the end.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what
I mean, I went through a phase of when I turned up at a club and someone said, "Oh, you better be good, yeah. They're hard, yeah." You know, I used to say, "Oh, good. Oh, brilliant! I'm glad. It would have been so easy if they were just so nice." So we do sometimes make out that it was so tough and so hard, and well, yeah, I suppose it was. But you know, I did the Northeast, and I know you did, Johnny, no doubt, and I did the Birmingham circuit and the Northwest. Yeah. And you know what? I think we were quite accommodating. I think Tom Jones says in his book, if you were good, they'd let you know, and if you weren't any good, they'd let you know.